Hello, everyone. My name is Cassandra Lewis, and this is a presentation on a proposed study of attachment and self-sufficiency among young adults coming out of foster care. More than 23,000 young adults aged 18 to 21 will age out of the foster care system each year. Most children leaving foster care do not have the financial, medical, nor the social support necessary to help with their transition into adulthood. Research has provided information on programs that help with resources and tools to achieve self-sufficiency when coming into adult age for foster care youth. The Children's Bureau supports aged-out foster youth with financial education workshops, tuition assistance, school information, and other resources to plan for going into adulthood and leaving foster care. The Fostering Connections and Increasing Adoptions Act of 2008 has allowed guardianship assistance payments extended to children up to the age 21. Youth with various negative experiences may have insecure attachment, which may produce behaviors that are impeding to progression throughout their development and can have a negative effect on gaining self-sufficiency. Becoming self-sufficient means you will have the ability to provide for your own needs and immediate family. The proposed study will investigate the potential difference between insecure and secure attachment with caregivers and how the difference between the attachment type may have an influence on self-sufficiency for young adults who have aged out of the foster care system. Is the type of attachment of aged out former foster youth to their caregivers associated with obtaining different levels of self-sufficiency? Attachment theory. Bowlby expressed that a child who explores confidently understands their parents care for them and will protect them. Secure attachment shows confidence in attachment by the lack of distress from separation of a parent. Attachment theory helps to explain relationships and characteristics individuals gain from the experiences they endure. Bowlby supported the term of object relations to and called it attachment or attachment figure. Attachment theory is a relationship that serves as a mental working model for future friendships and intimate relationships to be built by. Bowlby noted that being dependent is necessary at birth and throughout life, that dependency declines until maturity is reached but has been misreported due to clinical circles' report of attachment behavior manifesting in later years. The role of a secure caregiver is to be available, encouraging, ready to respond, and assist only when necessary to stress autonomy. Bowlby observed that attachment behavior was not respective to age and can be presented through one's emotions based on the relationship with the attachment figure. Different experiences leave lasting effects that can allow an individual to remember important parts of the situations endured. And he agreed that there's evidence for how attachment behavior forms from experiences with family or extended family. Lovenheim supported how attachment systems report that safety and security are needed through social connections, which suggests that interdependence allows individuals to become their most authentic selves. Ainsworth et al. Found 3 attachment styles, the first of which is secure attachment, when the infant felt confident in accessibility and responsiveness of their caregiver. The second is anxious ambivalent attachment, when the child gives conflicted messages for connection. Lastly, there is anxious avoidant attachment, when the child completely ignores their caregiver. The initial caregiver's connection built with the child has opportunity to be manifested and revisited in future relationships or social communications. Bowlby reviewed the understandings of the response of a child to separation by the bond held with the attachment figure. The emotional and psychological factors of children are affected by the attachment to their caregiver and regulated by experience plus observation. Separation anxiety elevates to detachment, which means individuals become emotionally isolated from their caregivers by avoiding them. Horney suggested a difficult childhood could be responsible for neurotic needs because it is how the child learns to feel safe, and the 4 general ways people protect themselves are with affection, submissiveness, striving for power, and withdrawal. Individuals with a detached manner develop emotional distance between people and themselves to solve the conflict of their anxiety. Avoidant people are used to being alone and can be faced with challenges while trying to interact. Review of literature. Abrams et al. Acknowledge youth in extended care is an opportunity for youth to ease into adult responsibilities while still receiving ongoing support, just as a secure attachment should be interdependent and serve as an ongoing support system. Curry and Abrams argued that creating policies for aged-out foster care youth rather than developing social support networks favor the development of self-sufficiency, and there should be a balance between independence and interdependence for youth aging out of foster care. Font et al. Found that regarding to educations and economic outcomes, the associations of being adopted are similar. The study recognized reuniting families are at risk of adverse outcomes because they are treated like they are not at risk. The importance of the quality of supportive relationships and how the child's performance can affect the willingness for adoptions or relatives to become their guardian. The guardian was recognized. Gomez et al. Studied the impact of learned helplessness for aged-out foster care youth who experience homelessness and mentioned foster youth should be aided with building social connections. Oakpick and Courtney found that youth who experienced more neglectful treatment and relational instability had higher levels of avoidant attachment. Participants with avoidant attachment were more likely to have signs of mental health problems, behavior problems, and issues with alcohol or substance abuse. Jeanin and Powers observed that aged-out youth have left foster care due to the frustration of the system with the intrusive nature of programs and how decisions are made for their lives. The researchers suggested the structure of foster care and congregate care facilities may inhibit self-sufficiency. Tobolowsky et al. Found that foster youth who reported having frequent placement changes did not allow them to establish supportive relationships with teachers, friends, and their foster families. These findings were related to students' attitudes, which is relative to avoidant attachment style, which showed that most of the participants felt like they could only rely on themselves to get through. Method. This intended research will use a casual comparative research design with the use of quantitative data. This experimental design tests items between subjects to be analyzed from the relationship of the independent variable insecure and secure attachment to the dependent variable self-sufficiency. Individuals who have scored high on the anxious and avoidant items will be placed into the less secure group. The dependent variable will be self-sufficiency, measured by a combination of housing, employment, food, childcare, children's education, family, social relations, income, physical health, mental health, legal, life skills, community involvement, adult education, health coverage, substance abuse, safety, and disabilities. The hypothesis to be tested is that young adults who have aged out of the foster care system with secure attachment to their caregivers will report being more self-sufficient compared to young adults who have aged out of the foster care system with insecure attachment to their caregivers. Participants. Young adults who have aged out of foster care age 18 to 25 will be recruited by online invitation to participate in a study on SurveyMonkey about attachment styles and self-sufficiency. Participants will be informed that the current study is for educational research for Psychology Capstone 698 course, which is a requirement for completion of CUNY School of Professional Studies Psychology Master of Arts degree program. Participants will be asked to sign a consent form to participate in this study and protect their rights as individuals to take part in the research. Materials. Participants will be asked to complete an online survey hosted through the proprietary web platform surveymonkey.com. Demographics included will be age, race, and gender. Participants will provide their demographics with open-ended responses. The survey sections will inquire about attachment style and self-sufficiency. To measure attachment style, individuals will be prompted to answer 18 items from the Adult Attachment Scale. The Adult Attachment Scale measures closeness, dependability, and anxiety. Individual items are scored on a 5-point Likert scale ranging from 5 extremely characteristic to 1 not at all characteristic. Some example statements are: I find it difficult to allow myself to depend on others, or I do not often worry about being abandoned. High scores on closeness and dependability combined will with low scores on anxiety equals secure attachment. High scores on anxiety with moderate scores on closeness and dependent equal anxious attachment. Low scores on closeness, dependability, and anxiety equal avoidant attachment. The Arizona Self-Sufficiency Matrix will be used to measure self-sufficiency using 18 items, which will be scored on a 5-point Likert scale, with 5 equals thriving to 1 is in crisis, and there are options for not applicable, NA, or unknown. Individual items will be measured by housing, employment, food, childcare, children's education, family, social relations, income, physical health, mental health, legal, life skills, parenting skills, community involvement, adult education. Some example statements are for the item health coverage. 5 equals all members are covered by affordable, adequate health insurance, scored at 5 points, and 1 equals no medical coverage with immediate need, scored at 1 point. Procedure. The survey will be available on Facebook groups Student Survey Exchange and Survey Sharing 2020. The survey will also be available on Survey Circle to collect a sample of young adults. Prospective participants will be asked to review and indicate their consent on an informed consent form page to proceed to the research questionnaire. The survey could take up to 15 minutes to complete. Once the individual has completed the survey, the participant will be directed to submit their responses. The final page of the survey will thank the participants for agreeing to be a part of the research and giving a confirmation that their responses were recorded. Planned analysis. Comparing for secure and insecure attachment will require an independent samples t-test of items between subjects. Comparing the means of 2 independent groups will determine if there is a statistical difference that the associated population means are significantly different. To analyze the data, the mean, standard deviations, t-statistic, and p-value will need to be evaluated. A value of p is less than 0.05 is considered statistically significant and indicates strong evidence for rejecting the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis states that there is no significant relationship between young adults who have aged out of the foster care system with secure attachment to caregivers reporting being more self-sufficient than young adults who have aged out of the foster care system with insecure attachment to their caregivers. Conversely, if a value of p is greater than 0.05 is found, the hypothesis for young adults who have aged out of the foster care system with secure attachment to caregivers report being more self-sufficient compared to young adults who have aged out of foster care with insecure attachment to caregivers will not be supported. Limitations. The data collection may produce biased responses based on participants' interpretations of the items asked to respond to. Some of the items in the measurement for self-sufficiency, such as childcare, may not pertain to some of the participants, which will change internal validity for rated items with no number. Participants responding with social desirability may be an issue with the validity of responses. Participants may not want to respond how they think the answer would be favored, such as reporting all good behavior when that may not be true. Sample size bias can be a limitation, such as not enough individuals responding to the survey, which may reduce the statistical power necessary to detect a difference between the 2 attachment conditions. Due to social distancing policies from the spread of COVID-19, the researcher's sampling method is limited to contacting participants only online. The World Health Organization advised people to practice respiratory hygiene and to maintain a meter distance away from others to avoid catching the coronavirus. Since the virus is not easily detected and the cure is still in development phase, this distancing method is meant to protect individuals from spreading the virus. References and dependencies will conclude this presentation. Thank you for listening in.